nationalist and presented again as related to the money I spend. That's something your high value hustlers can't do. They can't produce a tangible book with tangible product in. Look at themselves, so they think I will go out here and dress up my outside in expensive clothes, and this will get me the attention of the women that they want. But what usually happens is they usually wind up attracting these female predators to them, and these guys wind up getting taken for a ride by these females, and then these females, they'll tell them what they want to hear, and then they will wind up dumping them on the side of the road, bitter and broke. And after dumping them on the side of the road, bitter and broke, these same guys are the ones who spend their time flooding your comment section, talking about black women all day long. And these are the same guys who will sit there for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours on a live stream complaining about black women. When the problem is, as a man, they don't want to do the work of a man. They don't want to work on their character. They don't want to deal with their inner unresolved mommy issues. And they don't want to go out here and get their stuff together as men. Because they don't want to get their stuff together as men, what they're looking for is this easy gimmick that will help them get the attention of a woman in the short term, but they don't want to address their issues in the long term. And this is the big problem with many of the black males out here. These black males, all they want to do is sit there and look for some gimmick to get themselves over and think that because they're getting some attention in the beginning from the gimmick that things are working. But what usually happens to your so-called high-value man is the same thing that happens to many simps out here. Yes, they get the attention of the woman in the short term, but in the long term, their relationships wind up falling completely apart. And the reason why their relationships fall apart is because they always want something easy, but oftentimes when you get something easy, it winds up leading to you having hard consequences. Now, when I look at your black males out here, it seems like they always get upset whenever I go out here and challenge many of these false narratives that they have, whether it be the passports or this high-value man gimmick. It's always they're upset about one of these gimmicks and their ability to be able to participate in the gimmick, because these black males, they want to live in this smooth world. They want to buy into one of these delusions, and they want this delusion to be real. But I'm sorry, reality doesn't care about your feelings, and it doesn't care about any of the ideas you think are going to be successful. This is the big problem with your black male, is he doesn't want to deal with reality. He doesn't want to deal with the pain. No, he wants to escape the pain. He wants to medicate the pain. And the high-value man gimmick is the latest thing that he wants to use to medicate his pain. And he wants to use that whole gimmick to think that he can escape this reality. I'm sorry, but you cannot escape reality. You cannot escape the truth. And again, this gimmick is going to set you back. And that's why I spoke against this gimmick, because I know from seeing people around me go out here and participate in this type of behavior back in the late 80s, seeing these same guys out here putting on the expensive clothes, putting on the expensive shoes, and seeing them wind up getting played by these girls out here back in high school. I see a gimmick that is going to set black men back and set the black community back. And that's why I spoke against this gimmick, because this gimmick sets black men back over 30 years, because nobody's doing this dressing up and trying to impress women anymore. I mean, critical question, is Mr. Clean as Kid Organic calls him, going out here and talking about high value in many cases. No, Mr. Clean is not talking about high value. Mr. Clean is going out here getting with as many women as he wants, especially in the black community, doing whatever he wants to do and calling it a day. Same thing with Mr. Wong. Is Mr. Wong going out here and dressing up? No, he's not dressing up. He's going out here getting those women in exchange for a bag of weave on the low end, and he's going out here and he's building businesses. He's going out here, he's taking care of business, and the problem with the black man is he doesn't want to go out here and put in the work towards taking care of business. No, he's still thinking about trying to appease and please these black women, trying to get the attention of these black women, and that goes all the way back to your black male and the dysfunctional way he was raised in these single mother households, and this gynocentric mindset that it's all about this woman when he's not looking to go out here and do the work of a man. Now, if he was focused on doing the work of a man, he would understand that this high value gimmick, this whole theory has been destroyed, because all we have to do is look at Will Smith, look at Dr. Dre, look at your Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. This high value gimmick isn't working. I mean, Jeff Bezos is worth over $200 billion, and he's as high value as it gets. And his wife divorced him. So he's a high value man, is he, and he wound up getting dropped by his wife. So this gimmick is something that your black males, they want to buy into, and they want to live in the fantasy. But you have people like myself just trying to teach some reality, because I don't want to see young brothers get taken advantage of. I don't want to see young brothers get exploited. I don't want to see young brothers being manipulated and used. And I don't want to see young sisters get caught up in this as well, because what the high value thing teaches you is all about materialism. And I saw an entire generation winding up, falling apart back in the 80s and the 90s, being taught about it's all about the clothes this guy has, all the money he's got, and all we got from that was a generation of baby mamas and baby daddies and children who never grew up in a loving home. That's what we got from the high value. We got dysfunction, we got chaos, and I'm definitely going to speak out about that, because as a black man who cares about his community, I don't want to see our brothers and sisters taken advantage of by these hustlers who are running a gimmick, and these hustlers who you could easily take apart if you just took a look at them objectively. Because when I look at the guy pushing this high value gimmick, I see a dude who is sitting there again on social media and doesn't have his own talk show. Again, if you were a high value and you were going out here and you're dressing up and looking all this good, why don't you have a deal with a real radio network? Why don't you have a deal for a Spotify? Why don't you have a deal for a television show? I mean, if you're such high value and such a big wheel, why are you on the low end of social media? That's the critical question many in the black manosphere have not asked, and I've asked it 3 times already, but nobody seems to want to answer that question. No, what they want to do is go out here and attack me personally, and that really shows again how they really cannot address the arguments I'm presenting regarding high value, because the so-called high value man is not, again, something as related to money, because back in the day when I was in high school, yeah, there were lots of guys out there wearing the Jordans, wearing the troop jackets, dressed up all fancy, but these same guys were out here with their girlfriends having them buy them lunch. So how is that high value? And again, I know about high value because, again, I worked in the A&P and I saw people who had this type of money. I know how they dress, And I've also been around this black elite, and I know how they get down as well. So I know what high value is all about. And I know that, again, the wealthiest people on this planet, like Jeff Bezos, they don't go out here bragging about their expensive clothes. They don't go out here bragging about expensive shoes. In fact, these people are the ones that when I went to Brooks Brothers on 45th Street here in Manhattan, these were the people who were at the semi-annual sale getting their stuff for half price. And the other half, like the people in the goth subculture, they were getting their stuff at an even lower price. So the high-value fool is the only one spending all of his money with all of these businesses going out here, making them rich at his expense, and being the laughingstock of civilization because everybody else knows how the deal is done. Everybody out here knows how it's done. Again, you just walk down Madison Avenue here in Manhattan. I've gone to Brooks Brothers. I've gone to all of these different stores. I know how they operate. I know how to get this stuff for half price or even less than that. And I know how it goes. So when I look at this high value fool, I see the sucker paying full price for stuff that I know I can get on the semi-annual sale for 50% off, or even in some cases 75% off. Or in the golf subculture, they know how to get this stuff for 50, 75. Some of them you can get it for $3 to $5. So when you sit there and talk about your high value, I just look at you and I just shake my head because, again, you're still stuck playing the junior high school and high school games and not ready to do the work of a man, because a man understands his value is defined by the Most High God, and he knows that his value is related to him being a steward of the living God. And he knows that he has to be accountable to the living God. And as he is accountable to the living God, he has to do unto others as he would have them do unto him. And as a follower of God, that's why I made that video and live stream making it plain about this high value man, because I would want somebody to tell me about this gimmick so that I would not get taken advantage of. I mean, I wish that there was somebody around back in 1988 and 1989 when I was a teenager and people were running the same game, talking about you needed to have Tommy Hilfiger, you needed to have Polo Ralph Lauren, you needed to have the Jordans, you needed to have the Troop jackets, you needed to have all this stuff. And I wish there was somebody there to talk to me back then, because it would have really changed my life. And again, I grew up with these people running this type of stuff, and that's why I look at this high value man, and I can look at it and go, this is the exact same thing that guys used to run back in the day. And again, they ran this because they wanted to eliminate competition for these women, not understanding that women usually judge a man based on the first 5 seconds of looking at him, and within the first 5 seconds of looking at him, she already knows whether she wants to deal with you or not. And it doesn't matter what you're wearing in that 5 seconds of looking at you, she's already made up her mind. So you dressing up and putting on this high value man gimmick is not going to change her mind in the least. That's based on an instinctive look at you, and if you can think dressing up is going to change that, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But that's what happens with women. Within 5 seconds of looking at you, she's already made that decision, and she's gonna deal with that in that 5 seconds. And if she's Mr. Clean, he could be as raggedy and one-legged or dusty as whatever it can be. Mr. Clean is going to get that approval whether it is on anything or not. And Mr. Wong is going to get that because of white supremacy. So you talking about improvement, again, that argument falls completely apart, because if we look at Mr. Clean and Mr. Wong and Hassan, they're all getting the approval of some of these black women, but a man out here who is about the content of his character, he's going to find quality women, and a quality woman is going to look at him and see him as somebody attractive within that 5 seconds. It's not about what he has in terms of money. It's about what he has in terms of values and character. And a woman knows a man when she sees one. And that's what the high value simps don't understand. They are still following the model of Reggie Mantle in the old Archie comics. I mean, Reggie Mantle, back in the day, he was out here participating in the same stuff that the high value man participated in. He was out here talking about all the money he had, all the cars he had, all the stuff he had, but he still couldn't impress Veronica Lodge, who still chose Archie Andrews to be her boyfriend. And Archie Andrews had far less money than Reggie Mantle, and he kept scratching his head wondering why she kept choosing Archie, but it all had to do with attraction and the first 5 seconds of looking at them. Now, these same guys, again, they can go on the show and talk about me for an hour, but they cannot talk to me face to face. And that really, again, shows the weakness of black men. And it really, again, disappoints me because a year ago, I was glad to work with Obsidian. I thought he wanted to help me with the Sean James initiative, and I was grateful for that help. But I look at this behavior, and it really disappoints me because it shouldn't be black men fighting each other online. It should not be black men attacking each other online because, again, this makes black men look bad as a collective, and it gives white supremacists, white nationalists, and even these black women ammunition to talk bad about us and use that ammunition against us, and it reinforces stereotypes because I'm not about that. I'm about building. I'm about building professional relationships, building good, strong relationships, building bridges between black men and black women, and that's what I want to do on most of these social media platforms, and that's what I'm all about. I am not about getting into beefs and back and forth. I am about building a stronger black community and rebuilding a stronger black family. And I'm all about trying to empower our brothers and sisters by helping them understand that this is not going to be an easy task. This is going to be a long, hard road, and we better get used to being on a hard road because in a nation filled with white supremacy and racism, we have to understand that there's nothing's going to come easy in this country, and going out here and buying into false delusions and false tricks like high value, all that does is take time away from us, and it takes time away from the work we need to do out here. Yes, I may write fantasy, but I live in a world of reality, and in that real world, I know about that there's going to be a lot of pain, and there's a lot more pain coming for a black man who buys into a gimmick like high value, because this man is losing time out of his life, time he will never get back. And I went in depth on this in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. I talked about how your black male will talk about how he's going to lose time. And time is, again, precious because you can't get it back. And every second you spend buying into a gimmick, you wind up losing time out of your life. And that time is not something you're never going to get back. And you have to understand that everything in this world is going to be work. And this is something your black man doesn't want to do because he's always looking for a shortcut. He's always looking for a gimmick. And again, this is not going to cut it because it's just not going to work. I mean, you're thinking you're getting something as related to some easy sex, but what happens is you wind up with a hard time. And I'm tired of seeing brothers with a hard time because they just don't want to put in that work. They don't want to put in that effort. And again, people, they get mad at me for presenting the truth, but I have to present the truth because I wouldn't want somebody to take advantage of me. If I knew better, it is for me to speak on better, and it's for me to help people understand that this is not something that is going to be productive for black people. This high value man, again, is a gimmick, and it doesn't matter if you want to attack me on my employment. It doesn't matter if you want to attack me on my goals, like many in the comment section of that Obsidian video wanted to do. At least I am working on my goals. I may not have a full-time job right now, but I am still working on my goals, and I am working towards tangible results. Like in this case of the ISIS graphic novel, I have the East comic story done. And that was with the support of all the patrons out there and the people who donated to the Super Chats and donated to PayPal. I can go out here and produce a tangible result, which is right here. I got tangibles presented, again, as related to the money I spend. That's something your high-value hustlers can't do. They can't produce a tangible book with tangible product in the back. No, they sell you a gimmick and a dream. They take your money and take advantage of you. But the black man who can again go out here and produce a tangible, they want to speak against and say there's something wrong with him. Oh, the guy who produces tangible results and tangible product and does what he says, and again takes the money that is given to him and produces a tangible, you want to speak bad of that man. But the man who tells you what you want to hear, you want to go out here and support. And this shows how backwards your black males are, and some in the black community overall are. The person who produces tangibles you want to speak against, but the man who tells you what you want to hear, you're for. And this is the big problem with your black people out here, when it comes down to people like your black pastors, your race hustlers, and your con men like this high value man. They're down for the gimmick because that's all part of their covert contract. They want to get something easy and something quick, not understanding that when you try to con others, you con yourself. And when you con yourself, you make a complete fool out of yourself, because there's no easy to anything out here. That's the thing that I have as an issue, again, with this guy sending me a message. It's just, you're going to attack me personally, you're going to go low, and again, this is not how a man operates. If a man operates out here, he takes these issues to that man in private. He does not go and attack that man in public, because to attack that man in public shows how this man's arguments could not be broken. And when you have to go into ad hominem attacks, it shows that you cannot really break down any points as related to that argument, because to attack a man personally, that really, again, is a low blow, and that's not something a man does, because if you cannot argue on the talking points, it shows that your argument is really weak. And again, when I look at Obsidian, I'm disappointed, because this is not the conduct that a man participates in. This is not the conduct a man carries himself in. And this is not the way a man should conduct himself, especially among black men. We should be striving to present a positive example to all out here. We should be presenting a way about ourselves that shows a model for black manhood and black masculinity. And when I go out here and I'm on places like social media, that's what those brothers tell me, that I present this positive example of black manhood and black masculinity. They like the way I carry and conduct myself, and I show my value as a man to them by showing them a positive example of manhood. And with this situation, I want to show another positive example of black manhood and how you deal with an individual who goes low. When they go low, I go high, and I'm going high because I want to raise a standard for how we as black men conduct ourselves, and I want to raise our standard to how we conduct ourselves on social media. I am going to try to raise the standard, because we as black men, we need to do better. We need to go out here and step up, and we need to show an example of how we're going to be better men out here, and we're going to show how we have value because we value ourselves, we value our image, and we understand because we have a foundation in the Most High and a solid understanding of our intangibles of manhood. We're not going to do things to make black men look bad as a collective. Now, if you want to continue supporting me in making more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive SJS Direct fiction and men's issues books like Stop Simping and The Man Crisis, you can head over to Amazon.com by picking up those books in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords and the iBook Store and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You comment, rate, and subscribe. My own man, and as a man, I was deeply disappointed in Obsidian making this video directed to me because this is not the code that a man follows. Now, the code that a man follows if he has a disagreement with another man is he goes to that man directly and he expresses those grievances to that man in private. He does not go out into a public forum talking about I'm sending a message to another man, because that is just the sign of weakness and it is a sign of complete cowardice. Because a man of character is not afraid to go to another man face to face, because a man understands that if he has enough backbone and stones to have this issue with this other man, then he expresses that to that other man in private. Moreover, those men go in private, especially if they are black men, because they understand how this is not only going to reflect on themselves, but how it's going to reflect on the race as a collective. Because when you have two black men out here beefing and arguing with each other, what that does is it makes all of us black men look bad as a collective to the entire globe. And this is something many on social media don't understand, is that when you have two black men out here making all sorts of ad hominem attacks on each other, this reflects poorly on our image as a collective. And this is the main reason why I have an official policy of not doing any sort of beefs, not doing any sort of arguments, or doing any sort of drama online, because I understand the impact on our image as a collective, as black men. Because when we are out here and we have black men looking to get into back and forths, this reflects poorly on our image, and it reinforces many of the ideas in the minds of black women and these white supremacists and white nationalists and white feminists who watch our videos, because these groups see black men beefing and arguing as not only a reinforcement of the stereotypes presented about black men being loud, argumentative, and ignorant, but it also gives them justification to devalue our lives and devalue us as people. So that is why I do not go out here and react like your Obsidian would want me to do by presenting some reaction to his message. No, I'm going to respond by sending him a message that this is not how a man conducts himself. Your Obsidian had my email, and he could have easily sent me an email to express those grievances in private regarding those High Value Man live stream and High Value Man video. You could have easily sent me an email to discuss this issue, and I would have gladly expressed my talking points regarding that issue, because when I took a critical examination of this High Value Man, I saw nothing more than a gimmick, the same way I saw a gimmick with Steve Harvey's Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. Because when Steve Harvey was out here back in the mid-2000s with that book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, what he was doing was trying to sell the black woman this idea and trying to get her to buy copies of this book, where it was all about selling her the idea that all black men wanted was sex, and that all a black woman needed to do was learn how a man thought, which was what Steve Harvey